to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. So on the Dan Patrick show, they said that this so-called workout tomorrow, which is absolutely strange.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so all of a sudden, Colin Kaepernick celebrated his birthday last week. All of a sudden, his team gets an email. Saturday, be in Atlanta. You're having a workout. All NFL teams are going to be there.
Close workout.
It's going to be a closed workout. We're going to videotape it and send that in the interview to all teams. Kaepernick's team goes, okay, Saturday is a travel day for teams that are playing on the road, but it's also a day where the teams that are home are going to the hotel to stay, and they're preparing for the game the next day. Anybody knows in the NFL that Monday is typically a day off for teams, and so teams work out players individually. They bring them in. Every team does this. They bring them in for workouts on Tuesdays. Nope. Kaepernick's people said, can we get the workout to be on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday? Nope, got to be Saturday. Then Kaepernick's people say,
got to be in Atlanta.
Right, it's like, got to be in Atlanta. So why?
It's in California, right?
Right. Well, no, Kaepernick is in New York.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But he's like,
but why does it have to be in Atlanta? Why is it location?
Why does it have to be in Atlanta?
Right.
Like,
it could have been right there in New York.
It could have been in New York, could have been in Houston, it could have been, I mean, you can do it in any indoor facility, but I'm sorry, why Atlanta? Then Kaepernick's people said, okay, can we get a list of the people who are going to be at the workout? No. So hold up, time out. So we don't know who's going to be at the workout.
Until we get there.
Not going to do it until you get there. This is the strength. And so now Dan Patrick is saying, and I retweeted this, the Dan Patrick show, they are saying that this workout is being organized because of pressure that, matter of fact, let's go ahead and do this here. Hold on, let me plug it up. Hugh Jackson was on the Dan Patrick show. And so check this out, y'all. So Hugh Jackson, former NFL coach. Hugh Jackson, y'all seeing my iPad? Talk to me. Are you seeing it?
What is your role?
Okay, I'm going to do this. So y'all going to love this one here. So Hugh Jackson, former head coach of the Oakland Raiders, Cincinnati Bengals, he found out that he was doing the workout by social media.
That's the best.
Thank God for social media.
No, but it's like, so the deal is, so of course, y'all, this is all true. So Hugh Jackson is going to be putting Kaepernick through the drills, and also who's going to be there to assist is Joe Philbin, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And Jackson was like, damn, I just found out with y'all. Like, he ain't have shit to do on Saturday. Okay, here's Hugh Jackson on the Dan Patrick Show.
What is your role tomorrow, Coach?
Well, to lead the workout. You know, I'm excited about having the opportunity. I know Colin, when he was coming out of Nevada, Reno, and obviously a sensational player and a really good person, and spent time with him that way. Wish we had drafted him at the Raiders. And obviously I've watched his career. You know, the guy played in the Super Bowl. So he's very talented, can make all the throws. I know when he was coming out, he was very athletic. And I'm just, delighted to have an opportunity to be a part of this.
It's a long layoff, though, Coach, not playing football.
Oh, no, it is. You know, there's no question about that, and obviously competitive football at that, too. But in my mind, just knowing Colin a little bit, if any guy can do it, it's him. You know, I've seen guys take time off before, and sometimes they come back better. I've seen guys that take time off, and they don't come back at all. So somewhere in there is where he will be.
More important, the interview process or the workout, in your opinion?
I think it's the workout. I think this is about the workout. I think all the other things that need to be talked about, they will be in time, but I think that's somewhat behind us. Let's find out if he has the skill and desire and the determination to play at this level again, and that will somewhat show itself. And then I'm sure everybody else who has the interest will dive into the other things that they need to dive into.
Do you think there is a team right now that wants to sign Colin Kaepernick before this workout even happens?
I think there are. I mean, I think people wanted to know more about where he is, as far as football. Does he still have the arm talent, the athleticism that he's shown before? I think this, gives the league an opportunity to put some of the things that have happened behind us, and move forward. And if his skill level is where it needs to be, hopefully this leads to an opportunity of him playing again in the National Football League.
What is the one?
All right, y'all. So I really like Hugh Jackson, but the reason why that statement is bullshit, because if any team wanted to see the arm strength of Colin Kaepernick, they could have brought him in for a workout. No, I mean,
so what do we think this really is?
Oh, this is exactly what it is. This is that I believe 100%. This is, y'all, go to my iPad. This is what Dan Patrick said. I have been in touch with well-placed sources who say that any Jay-Z narrative seems like another distraction to take away from the opportunity facilitated by the NFL for Colin Kaepernick.
But do we?
But they also said that this was sort of a thing where Jay-Z put pressure. Dan says he is hearing Jay-Z pressure NFL to hold Kaepernick workout because Jay-Z felt his reputation took a hit from joining the NFL.
It sure did.
Guys, there is nothing logical about this workout.
No,
there literally is nothing. If a team was interested in knowing if Colin Kaepernick wanted to play football, seeing his arm strength, seeing his footwork, they would bring him in for a workout.
Yeah, you know what? Colin Kaepernick, the more I think about him, he is, in fact, the most dangerous and influential athlete present day. And, in fact, he is the closest that African Americans have ever come to controlling a sports league, because he went out really and controlled a narrative and a discussion, and they couldn't stand it and went crazy. He controlled a narrative and a discussion in one moment with one singular act, and they can't stand it.
Because the NFL is a $10 billion a year enterprise on their way to being $15 billion a year. And the NFL's motto is the shield.
And how dare you?
Nothing is more important than the shield. When you find players because their socks aren't high enough,
or their shoes have something written on it,
when the pad doesn't go below their knee,
uniform violation.
The NFL's deal is we want complete uniformity,
and you don't take your helmet off on the field, all that.
Well, I disagree with you on one point. This does have some logic to it. This does make sense because it makes the NFL look like they're trying to do something. So from their standpoint, yeah, why not?
Until we find out he's not going to play again.
They get people talking. They get people talking about it.
I can't see the NFL doing that though.
I can't still see them having to play.
I can't see you settling a lawsuit.
That's the moment I want to see when he's playing.
Right, and I agree. And I think what I'm saying is the workout itself makes sense as a PR stunt for the NFL.
Oh,
but I can't see them trying to sign him. If we settle on a lawsuit, why would I bring you back?
Because you're trying to do some positive PR. You're not trying to bring him back. You're trying to look like, project the image.
But you putting yourself in the corner.
Right,
if you bring him for a workout, now you gotta sign.
And that positive PR ends the minute his knee hits that ground.
Thank you. Exactly. And what I'm suggesting here is that when you go through the workout, they do not have to sign him. Well, he had this nasty hitch in his throat that I didn't like. Well, his footwork was off.
He had
a 4.2.
Yeah.
It's not us. We gave him a fair opportunity.
And he just couldn't make it.
He couldn't make the cut. We're off the hook now. We tried to bring him back, but his skills are gone.
Here's something that Harry Edwards wrote. This is the Harry Edwards.
Is the best.
But this is the Harry Edwards who now works for the San Francisco 49ers. Works for the team. He was the guy who encouraged and was behind Tommy Carlos and John Smith protested in Mexico City in 1968. This is what he wrote. So Jamel Hill wrote, the NFL also isn't slick. If it's true that Cap has to fall in line to get a job, then that's not a real opportunity. That also proves for the umpteenth time that him being out of the league was never about football. Harry responds, Dr. Edwards, Colin hasn't taken a knee on a football field in 3 years. And in fact, has moved on from protest to programs/progress. Issue is not if he will have to fall in line, because he has moved, is leading the line. Question is whether he will fall back. Ball is in his hand, be smart.
Yeah, okay.
I responded to what Harry had to say. Whether Kaepernick will fall back? Nah, Harry Edwards, you clearly trust the NFL far more than I do. Harry responded, not issue of trust involved. In due time, all will become manifest. My point is, no need either for Cap to fall back to protest. All got the message. Now that over the last 3 years, he has moved on to programs in interest of progress, but as Malcolm X said, time will tell.
When did we get the message?
See, here's why, and I got to end the show in about 2 minutes. Here's why I'm sorry, Harry, you did wrong. And I have great respect for Harry, Dr. Harry Edwards. But Harry's wrong. Facts are facts.
Right.
Colin Kaepernick had programs after year one. Colin Kaepernick donated $1 million to a variety of initiatives after year one. Colin Kaepernick, of course he's not protesting, because
Not playing.
he's not playing.
I know, right? What was that?
So to say that, oh, Colin has moved on, no, Colin didn't move on. Colin was doing these things while he was playing. The reality is that the team said, oh, no, hell, no. We're going to put your ass in your place.
Right, exactly.
Because you can't say, how did you keep Malcolm Jenkins in the league?
Right,
How did you keep Eric Reed in the league?
right.
How did you keep Michael Bennett in the league?
Who under Harry
How'd
Edwards'
you
theory
keep
has not
Kenny
moved.
Stills?
They have not moved on under Harry Edwards.
Right.
Michael
Right.
Bennett stayed in the locker room in New England, okay, kept protesting. Now he went to the Cowboys. Jerry Jones like, everybody gonna stay on that line, toe on the line. Bennett said, another Texas A&M graduate, Bennett said, the other player said, bruh, stand with us. And he said, my feelings ain't changed. Kenny Stills still taking a knee. So to Harry, Kenny Stills is still taking a knee and doing programs.
Right.
So what's the difference? It's because he's playing quarterback.
Right.
And the team was saying, your ass started this.
Right.
You began this. You
Right.
are going to pay the ultimate price.
Right.
We ain't letting your ass back in.
Right.
If they let him
I
back in.
don't trust.
If they let him back in and he takes a knee, he's entitled to do that.
They're not gonna get that far.
He is entitled to do that. I'm not saying he can't.
Stop, hold on. We ain't even going to go there. This is real simple. The workout is tomorrow. The Chicago Bears suck.
God, I know.
They're not the only ones.
Their quarterback sucks. According to the NFL website, they're not one of the 11 teams who are going to show
Right.
up.
Bingo.
Is Miami? Is the Dolphins?
Your quarterback
Right. Who else?
sucks.
Who else need a quarterback?
A third of the league.
Are you kidding me? Did you not see the game last night?
Denver, y'all suck.
Right.
Your quarterback sucks.
Right.
Question is, you gonna give him a shot? Let's see. The problem is suspect. It's suspect because you rushed it. You didn't really contact this team. You work out a day. No, it was you gonna do this. There's no workout because they knew. If he said no, well, we gave him a shot.
But
You
the
offered
owner's
opportunity
gonna have the last say, so they're gonna go back to Raj and be like, hey, we did exactly what you asked us to do.
No, hold on.
Now we don't have to sign.
No, you forgot the most important. They don't have to go to Goodell.
Yeah.
He works for them. Roger Goodell. See, this is the problem, everybody. Roger Goodell may make $50 million a year. He doesn't run the NFL. The NFL is run by 32 billionaires.
So if it's ran by
works for
billionaires,
them.
why are they doing it? If
a fig leaf.
if it's true what you're saying,
PR.
It's a
It's
fig leaf.
called
It's PR.
public relations. They want to be able to say, we
gave
gave
him a
him a
shot.
workout. We saw.
Yeah, there's a hitch.
We didn't
there's a
like
hitch
what
in
we
the
saw.
scroll,
Right
yeah.
there, right there. Don't be shocked when you hear.
That's a hitch in.
Step.
He
He's
couldn't
lost
throw
a
that
step.
out pattern, the velocity of his arm. We've seen some weakness in the last 3 years. some deterioration.
In fact, it'll probably end up being a pain in the ass PR for him, for Kaepernick. That's what's going to, unless they play it right.
Let's see what happens.
They should release the tape.
Let's
if
see
he's
what
doing
happens.
something really well out there,
catch the
release
ball?
the tape.
Who gonna
I'm not going to do it. Let's
No,
see
no.
what happens. Bottom lines is here. I'll be texting Kaepernick after the workout, see how it went. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, y'all. Hey, guys, as the marijuana momentum continues, friends at marijuanastock.org have already reached more than half of their funding goal for the hemp CBD investment. That's right. If you want to take advantage of this great opportunity, you need to do it now because it won't last much longer. Now, if you don't know, I'm talking about the hemp plant, the good cousin of marijuana, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Also, if you don't know, hemp farming is now legal in the United States, creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. It's an incredible investment opportunity, and that's where our friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. They are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. Now, as hemp continues to change the economic landscape, 420 Real Estate is allowing you to chase the American dream, and you can do it now by investing in their crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200. That's right, $200 up to $10,000. Now, do it now before the fund is closed. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. Possible. I do want to be this up. Leading up to the 2016 election, White House senior policy advisor Stephen Miller promoted white nationalist literature, pushed racist immigration stories, and I've said I'm done with that damn story, Malik. I'm doing something else. So stop talking about the other story. So here we go. No, actually, on the TV show, when you discussing the next show story, you finish talking about the other story. But we talked to Stephen Miller, y'all, promoted white nationalist literature, pushed racist immigration stories, and obsessed over the loss of Confederate symbols after Dylann Roof's murderous rampage, according to leaked emails reviewed by Hate Watch. The emails, which Miller sent to the conservative website Breitbart News in 2015-2016, showcase the extremist anti-immigrant ideology that he has helped create as an architect of Donald Trump's presidency. Do y'all recall this discussion last week?
No.
Explain who Stephen Miller is.
Stephen Miller works in the White House. He's the person who's actually crafting the immigration policy for President Trump.
Hold up, not just immigration.
Oh, yeah, not just immigration.
So if you're going to ask me why I don't put them in the same box, I've never liked anything about Richard Spencer. I've never liked anything about Milo. You can disagree with some policies that Stephen Miller is advocating while he's in the White House, but from my perspective, Stephen Miller is not that racist, is not that white supremacist.
So he doesn't.
Have you taken a look at what's going on the border?
Miller on tape doing this.
What's the racist policy that you're talking about on the border?
Oh, boy, we don't have time for
But that's what I'm saying. So if you're going to ask me why I don't put them in the same bag, I'm saying you can
do we really need to go through the whole border thing?
But you can disagree with policies that are going on at the border without calling someone
separating families,
without
and all that.
But how is that racist though?
I'm about to sip some tea. Again.
Smoking a joint.
I really did.
I thought you were advertising the hip.
I'm sipping some tea.
Marijuana stock.
Again, according to leaked emails, White House senior policy advisor Stephen Miller, the same one we're discussing right there, promoted white nationalist literature, pushed racist immigration stories, and obsessed over the loss of Confederate symbols after Dylann Roof killed 9 black people in a church in South Carolina. The emails also show Stephen Miller with extremist anti-immigrant ideology in the emails. Malik, what you got to say now?
Well, as I said last week, and I'll say again today, I draw a distinction when we're talking about actual policy. I think we just saw the clip, and the question was, well, is the border family separation, is that a racist
Is
policy?
Stephen Miller white supremacist?
Stephen Miller has to answer for
No, I'm asking you.
Stephen Miller.
No, Jason, I'm asking you. Is Stephen Miller white supremacist?
Well, I don't classify him as a white supremacist.
So how the hell do you classify these emails?
Stephen Miller was pitching stories to Breitbart or whatever.
It's Breitbart.
It's Breitbart.
Stephen Miller was pitching stories to Breitbart. That's something that he has to answer for himself.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking you.
No, I don't think that Stephen Miller is a white supremacist.
So what is he?
No, I don't think that Stephen.
What is he?
Well, I don't know what he is, but I don't think he's a white supremacist. If we're talking about actual policy,
Is he racist?
No, hold up. Okay, let me read again, just in case you missed it. He promoted white nationalist literature.
He around
pushed
white nationalist
racist
literature.
immigration stories and obsessed over the loss of Confederate symbols after Dylann Roof killed 9 black people.
Well,
So now, with that, how would you classify Stephen Miller?
as someone ignorant, as someone did some stupid things.
Jason, go ahead,
we're talking
Jason.
about
Jason, go ahead.
stories.
Jason, go ahead.
I mean, if you looked at the Southern Poverty Law Center and the stuff that came out, and a woman who is now rejecting her past racism is saying,
Who was it? A self-described white nationalist.
absolutely.
Go ahead.
She was simpatico with Stephen Miller. She says that Stephen Miller was a racist and is a racist, that his policy was based on things that he read from, that were anti-Muslim, that were anti-immigrant, things that were based on Mein Kampf. All these things are actually how he's shaping his policy and reflected in his worldview. And I understand, I understand you want to protect the image of your party. I get that. But why?
You understand something that's not true.
But last week, okay, so I don't know who you want to protect then. But last week you were pretty sure that you were saying, I don't think Stephen Miller is a racist.
And I repeated that today.
And that's problematic when you have the evidence.
Well, I just say
I don't get it.
I just say very quickly, so the issue I find is that racists get more offended with being called racist than racist behavior. They're okay with the racist behavior, but they get offended when you call them racist. Own it. This is racist. When you treat people and you dehumanize them as racist. When President Trump came out and when that woman was killed in Charlottesville to say both sides are equal, when one's the KKK, the other one's protesting hate, that's racist.
But that's not what he said.
That's exactly what he said. But and then when he came out,
that's what
when the people from the Bahamas
characterized.
Can I go ahead and read this? Because just in case Melik is still confused.
Yeah.
Go to my iPad. Stephen Miller's name also has appeared on American Renaissance as an author. On July 19, 2005, the white nationalist website republished a piece he wrote for the right-wing online publication Front Page Magazine called Santa Monica High's Multicultural Fistfights regarding his high school alma mater. American Renaissance commonly republishes stories from other publications that fit into its racist agenda. Hate Watch reached out to American Renaissance for a comment twice about Miller's post, how Miller's post came to appear on his website, but did not receive any reply. In the article, Miller blames the left for a variety of problems in the nation's schools, including excusing Black and Hispanic misbehavior by holding those students to a lower standard. So Melik, if he has got some work that's being run on a white nationalist website, what makes it so appealing to a white nationalist website? So is it what?
I've never read it. I don't know.
Oh, you never. So
why would I go to a white nationalist website?
But the fact that so you don't think that if somebody has something
that's a problem.
No, but if somebody has written something, but you still say he's not a white nationalist.
It's not a problem. But
no. Answer my question. Is it?
He's
it's a problem.
Immigration policy.
But you haven't been able to link that white supremacy, that
oh my God!
You read the same thing I did. It's in the.
You're not going to be able to convince me that family separation
I know I'm not going to be able to convince you.
Well, of course you.
What about letting kids die? What about letting kids die?
What do you mean letting kids die?
Kids have died. Wait, time out. You're asking a question.
Let kids die.
It happened. There was a woman. It happened on Mother's Day about a year ago. Her name was Maria. I can't remember the kid's name. They didn't give her medical help. She died. That's happened several times.
Okay, but is that a function of Stephen Miller?
That's a function.
That's a function of racism.
It's a function of racism.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that
it's the
our
humanization.
federal government is purposely killing people and letting
negligence.
people die?
Yeah. Where in the hell have you been for the past 18 months?
I forget time and time again that I'm in the seat of.
Are you saying this didn't happen?
No, you're in the seat of facts.
That's what
it didn't happen.
Kelly, go ahead. Kelly, go ahead.
Kelly, go ahead. Government is allowing people to die at the border because
Well, believe what you want to believe, but we got
Kelly, go ahead.
Well, that's your opinion. That's
No,
your,
we got-
that's,
Kelly, go
that's
ahead.
your opinion that it was
It happened.
racist.
Kelly,
yes,
go
the
ahead.
person died, but
Kelly,
it's not racist.
Kelly, go.
What I find interesting here, Malik, is when we saw the video of the police officer with the young man trying to pull his bag, you straight up said that he was prejudiced and that it was wrong.
I didn't say he was prejudiced. I said that he was wrong.
Oh, well, that he was wrong. For whatever reason, he was wrong. You can see that behavior, and you can see that it's wrong. Multiple other videos, I've been on this panel with you, similar stories, similar outcomes. You can point out and say, this cop is wrong, or that barbecue Becky is wrong, or that person is doing whatever. Or if the Democrats do something negligent, you're quick to point out that they are negligent, that they are doing something wrong. Stephen Miller has 900 emails reflecting his racist views, ideologies, and behavior. And you still won't say that he's wrong.
Well, I know. I said that he should be held to account for what he said, in that he has to.
I did not hear you say that.
I specifically asked you.
What's racist?
No,
to you?
Okay, so let me ask you a series of questions. Melik, do you believe any of these 900 emails show racism by Stephen Miller?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you believe that Stephen Miller is a racist?
No, I can't say that.
I'm not done. Do you believe that Stephen Miller is spouting white nationalist, white supremacist points of view?
Well, according to what we saw from
these are 900 emails. I'm asking you.
According to what we read on the Southern Poverty Law Center website, yes, he has.
So do you believe that if he is spouting white nationalist, white supremacist views, that he is a white nationalist, white supremacist?
I don't know. And the reason that I don't know is because I think that it's a much layered discussion than what we have. So if someone,
how many layers is it?
Because when
is it a 2-layer cake, a 3-layer cake,
for me,
a 5-layer cake? What is it?
If I'm going to say that this person is racist, this person is an anti-Semite, this person is homophobic or whatever, because we have that in our own community, I need to be able to attach it to some sort of policy.
I'm sorry, we have what in our community?
Well, not just the black community.
So you said they can say racist things, but they don't prove it in your policy, it's okay.
Well, I believe that people can say racist things without
policy.
being racist. I believe that people can say anti-Semitic things,
ending TPS.
homophobic things without being homophobe. I absolutely do.
Jason, go ahead.
So
go on before I go to a break.
Lowering the threshold for refugees, ending TPS for black and brown nations, not to mention the things that the president has stated, and family separation mainly for people coming from brown and black nations, not for people who are coming from European nations. We haven't heard any stories of that, and the Human Health and Human Services said themselves that this caused lasting damage to these children. And you don't think that there is any kind of racial tie, so someone has to call you a nigger in order for it to be racist?
No.
Is that what you need?
No, not at all. But we're not going to agree that family separation policies is a racist policy. That's your worldview. I get it. I don't agree with it. You're not going to make me agree with it. You calling him a racist. But to the point of the Southern Poverty Law Center, since we're on the discussion of them, they also say that Louis Farrakhan is an anti-Semite. Does everyone on the panel agree with the Southern Poverty Law Center that Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam are anti-Semite and anti-Semitic organizations?
So this
does everybody agree with that?
Conversation.
It's not a shutting down the conversation.
This is the let's talk about Hunter Biden.
I didn't get an answer. Does everyone agree that this is anti-Semite?
This isn't what we're talking. We're talking about Stephen Miller,
but
correct?
Does everyone? Well, we also talking about the article that was in the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Do you have 900 emails from him saying that stuff?
No.
So again, y'all. So let me.
I get that your community don't want to talk about it.
No, your community. Is it not yours?
Anti-Semite. I can criticize.
Here's the deal, y'all.
Here's the deal.
You need to be held.
Come to me, y'all. Here's the deal.
If you could produce 900 emails,
guys, here's the deal. Come to me, please. Come to me.
Also produce.
Here's the deal, y'all. Here's the deal for everybody who's watching. Okay, game, recognize game. If you need to deflect, you deflect as fast as possible. when you can't defend the actual topic.
Which is why?
Now, as somebody who has been in television for quite some time, I've used the trick, so I know what Melik is trying to do. He's tried it all day. The bottom line is this here. He's afraid to criticize Stephen Miller.
Because of what?
Because I don't know whether he wants to hurt his feelings.
I don't know.
But the reality is this here. If you can't call it what it is, then you're afraid to call it what it is. And the bottom line is this here. We said it last week that Stephen Miller looked up to Richard Spencer, who's a racist, a virulent racist. You have 900 emails.
Miller has condemned.
You have 900 emails, okay, showing this as well. You have an administration that's had many other people who have been in it with ties to white nationalists, white supremacists, and folks they've been forced out after they've been exposed. So you have to ask the question, what makes Trump so attractive to like-minded people? This is just part one of the Southern Poverty Law Center's expose on Stephen Miller. There will be more. Roger Stone. This is the guy who has been a dirty trickster all his life. He learned it working for Richard Nixon. This is the guy who also in 2000 was involved in the campaigns in Florida and Bush v. Gore, leading a lot of the vicious thugs to shut down voting areas there. Well, guess what, y'all? Today, this lying son of a bitch was convicted for lying to Congress and tampering with a witness about his efforts to learn about the anti-secrecy group. WikiLeaks released their hacked emails of the Democrats in 2016. The panel of 9 women and 3 men deliberated for less than 2 days before finding Stone guilty on all 7 counts, resulting from his September 2017 testimony to a House Intelligence Committee investigating Russian interference in the 2016 election and the Kremlin's efforts to damage Trump's Democratic opponent, Hillary Clinton. Now, I know some of y'all might be saying, damn, Roland, you're using some harsh language for Roger Stone. And why are you doing so? Well, because that asshole had the audacity to personally slam me and Ana Navarro by calling us all sorts of nasty, vile, and despicable names. And so then, of course, later the little punk tries to apologize for his comments and never apologized to either one of us personally for what he had to say. So once calling me a Negro, said all kind of all fat, nasty, talked about clothes, things along those lines. I'm going to find the tweets for you. Had the same vile, nasty things to say about Ana Navarro. And that's what he is. Oh, yes, he said that both Ana and I were quota hires at CNN. That's the kind of person Donald Trump hired. He said, Ana Navarro, the dumbest person on TV since CNN fired moron Roland Martin, both quota hires. Okay, he made those comments. He made other comments. And so, yeah. Let's see here. He also made comments. He made nasty stuff about Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and so many other people. And he gave an interview, I'm gonna find it in a second, with my man Mark Thompson, where he said, I dare y'all to indict me. Lauren, that punk ass was convicted.
Yeah, on 7 counts. I don't know why these guys think that, like, this is pretend, like they're in some sort of mafia movie. Michael Cohen did the same thing. You had Roger Stone bragging about, yeah, come get me, come indict me. Yeah, okay. I mean, like, why do you think that won't happen when you lie under oath? I mean, they love, that is the most favorite count that we see in almost any procedure, the lying under oath.
It's two.
You know, and they witness.
No, it's 3. Lie under oath, lie to the FBI, or tax evasion.
Right.
They gonna get.
Right.
It's the 3 things you don't do.
Right.
The RICO statute.
They gonna get you on those. If you lie, you can be found not guilty on everything else.
But you can't lie.
But they can get you on lying.
And even more, I mean, really, to me, who he reminds me of before Cohen had the conversion. He reminds me of Cohen, because remember, Cohen was the tough talker right along with Stone, Michael Cohen. So Anyway, so Stone just sort of running his mouth and daring the prosecutors to do. I mean, this is what they do all day. Like, what made him think that they were just going to say, oh, okay, we're just not going to bother with that? They are going to bother with that because these are serious crimes. Question is, what is he going to get? Is he going to get the wrist slap or is he not going to get the wrist slap? And will he get pardoned is the other question, because you know how I actually think will end up happening is that the president will pardon him. But this idea that you could play this game and not lose is silliness. And so here we are.
In order to do that, you gotta make sure there's no evidence. You can't talk shit.
Like a tape recorder?
Right. You can't talk shit and be like, damn, they really got some evidence. I forgot. No, I can't defend it. I mean, I'm not going to defend it. You go to court, evidence has been brought against you.
Right.
And now you tell people, I'm innocent, I don't give a damn what you say, what you do, take me to court. It's okay to say that and do that. Everybody has said that. I mean, you look at John Gotti, he said it. He was called a Teflon Don. At some point, you end up making mistakes.
Until he was caught on tape trashing Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Right.
And then Sammy heard it and was like,
there's no more loyalty. Oh, there's no more loyalty. I don't need to be loyal to you.
I got something for your ass. Y'all, so Roger Stone went on Mark Thompson's former show on Sirius XM, Make It Plain. And this was from, let me get the date here. This was from 2017. This was actually, 2017. So here's Roger Stone sitting there saying, I'm the man. Y'all can't touch me. Press play.
My friend, put up or shut up. Where is the proof? We have
well,
emails.
honestly, I don't have it, but it's out there, Roger. I'm just trying to give you every opportunity. If you want to acquit yourself, fine. But I'm a little concerned. You're saying this, and then next week we might hear some doggone phone calls of you, man. I'm just like, I'm not going to. You're telling me I'm not going to hear that. There's nothing that's going to come back.
Nothing whatsoever. You know what? If they have any proof whatsoever, indict me. But if you don't have the proof, issue an apology, because this is getting tedious. Let me be very clear. I had no contacts with the Russians. There is no proof to the contrary because it's simply not true. So let's let the process take its place. Let's have a full federal investigation.
Right.
And let's see the proof in a court of law. That's how the United States works.
Well, Joseph.
But in order for that to happen, you got to make sure there is no evidence.
He thought there was no evidence. He's like, bring it.
He was so arrogant.
Right.
But see, and I think that's the coin of the realm here, right? Every one of these dudes has been arrogant until they've gotten caught.
Paul Manafort.
Right.
Sitting his ass in jail.
Right.
Trump campaign manager.
Right.
His associate.
Right.
Guilty. Michael Flynn, National Security Advisor.
Yep.
Going to prison.
Yep.
Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney, going to prison. Now you got Trump lying about everything. This guy likes lying, thieving, foul, despicable individuals around him. Why? Because he's foul, evil, lying, and despicable.
Game recognizes game, right? I mean, but it's also a matter of the arrogance inherent in the system where you have people who believe that they are bulletproof because they run stuff. I mean, and that to me is kind of a bit of a frustration here in that the quiet parts are now being said out loud. We're hearing a lot of stuff that used to be in the back room, and I don't know if that's positive or negative or if it's advancement or not, but certainly when this stuff goes out there and there are people who feel like and assume that they won't get punished.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, though. What is that? What makes them think
That's
that
ego.
they can just sort of break the law in front of everybody's face?
Because they haven't been
Well, because Thug in Chief
But see, it's coming.
has done all these different things.
It's coming.
But you
and
gotta-
they figure,
if he
yeah,
was the
we
president of the
good.
United States-
Wait a minute. You can't tie the president to that. No.
But you
Yes, I can.
No. What Roger Stone did, that's on him.
No, it's not.
That's on. He made that choice.
No.
it's coming,
Here's where
it's
you're wrong.
He made that
No.
choice.
Here's where you're wrong.
How am I wrong?
Gates testified. Steve Bannon testified that Roger Stone was their conduit between the campaign and WikiLeaks.
Okay.
During the trial,
they testified.
So we trying to say it was from Russian collusion. Russian had something to do with this election.
During the trial, they testified that Stone, they had informed Trump of the advance notice of what was being dropped.
He's in it.
That's what happened. See, you can't act like. See, here's the deal. I can't have 5 boys of mine rolling with me at all times. And then all of a sudden, when the shit go down, I'm clean. See, I can't have Manafort, Flynn, Giuliani, Stone, Cohen, who am I leaving out? Gates. I can't have all of them around me that I go, wasn't me.
Well, especially when what they're doing is to help you.
Right.
To help you get elected.
You can't have your campaign chairman, his business partner, your lawyer. This is the same man who said, oh, no, Cohen never told me about no payoffs.
Okay.
He didn't tell me.
Goodness me.
And then we get documents showing your ass knew.
Yeah.
See, Trump don't get the benefit of the doubt. When you have lied about the lies.
I'm white. I got you, bro.
Illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa! Hey!
Give us your ID.
You don't live here.
I'm uncomfortable.
A San Francisco man identified as Steve Foster of Concord was stopped and later handcuffed by BART police officers as he holds a sandwich he was trying to eat while waiting for the train. Here's what happened.
Bro, let my shit go.
You are detained and you're not free to go. Which part of that
go, bro. You come up here and fuck with me. You single me out of all these people.
You're eating.
Bro, so what?
It's against the law.
So what?
I tried
It'll be
to
dumb
explain
fucking
that
on
to
BART.
you.
Let my shit go.
It's a
bro.
violation of California law.
Bro,
I have the right to detain you.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Can you please let my backpack go?
Are you going to cooperate?
Yeah, Can you cooperate and leave me the fuck alone?
You're going to go to jail.
I'm not going to jail for eating a fucking sandwich?
No, for resisting arrest.
I'm not resisting arrest.
You are resisting
I haven't done
right
anything
now.
wrong. I haven't done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong.
You can argue that
I've
with
done
the
nothing
judge.
wrong. Let my bag go.
Just let.
Let my bag go, bro. What are you, bro? What is this nigga doing,
Yeah,
bro?
we got
Let
a guy
my
eating
bag
on the
go.
platform is uncooperative. Somebody's got to eat.
Bro, bring him up here then.
Stop.
I'm not doing nothing. I'm gonna continue with my sandwich, bro. I do this shit every fucking morning. Every morning, bro. Let my bag go.
Yeah, why is there a store downstairs selling food if we're not allowed to eat up here?
Why is there a store downstairs?
And does it not say on, there's no signs here that mark that we can't eat on the platform? Where is there a sign up here that says we can't eat on the platform? Where is there a sign up here? Where is there a sign up here, sir? Excuse me. Where is a sign up here that says that we can't eat on the platform? We know that we can't eat on the train.
People come up here and eat every fucking day, drinking coffee and all that shit. Let my bag go, bro.
Is there a chance
You ain't got no, bro. You ain't got no, bro. You ain't got no reasonable cause to fuck with
Is
me.
there a chance you could allow me to talk?
Bro, let go of my bag.
You are detained and you're not free to go.
I'm not
Okay,
detained.
you're
I
gonna
haven't
end up
done
going
nothing
to jail.
wrong. I've done nothing wrong.
You are detained.
Stop.
You're under to go into jail, my man.
Detained for what?
For eating. It's illegal. It's a violation of California law. I've already said that. Yeah.
I do this shit every morning, bro. Watch out.
Just trying to go to work. Just trying to go to work, eating a sandwich at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Bro, let my bag
Do
go.
you want to cooperate or not?
I've been standing here. I ain't went no fucking where. Let my shit go.
And I asked you for
You ain't got no,
ID.
bro. You got no right.
I asked you for ID.
You don't need my ID.
I do.
I've done nothing wrong.
Dude.
I'm not your fucking dude.
Where? I don't understand. I didn't know that you can't eat on the platform.
You're not free to go.
Lord have mercy. Okay. Angry BART riders staged an eat-in protest at Embarcadero Station. Hey, I got it. On Saturday. Listen, y'all. I watched that and I thought, this is how, when you're navigating this world in a black male frame, you can be policed for any dumbass reason at any time.
See, that could have been a teachable moment.
Infuriating.
That officer could have said, according to code and statute, blah, 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 this is illegal. However, since you didn't know, this will be your warning. Have a great day. You are employed. You are trying to go to work. You're not out here doing something wrong. That could have been a teachable moment instead of a I look like an ass moment because I'm trying to arrest this man for eating breakfast.
I have news for you, and this goes back, Ava, as well as anybody, about some of the disadvantages of being a black male, since we were talking about how horrible women have it.
That's right. Well, we do.
We'll fight about that later with boxing gloves. But anyway, when a white cop, typically, and sometimes a black cop, gets into a power struggle with a civilian, particularly a black male, they're not going to give them any leeway. They're not interested in nothing but having power and having control. And the reason that cop had his hand on his bag, because that was his effort of trying to have some control over him, and the guy wasn't letting go, and the guy probably wound up being handcuffed because, and just to the audience, to brothers, you cannot win a power struggle with a white cop. And usually a black cop, any kind of cop, because they have the upper hand, they're enjoying that upper hand, they're not going to give up that upper hand, and when you are resistant to them, you're just asking for a problem. Now, I'm from the Bay Area, I used to work and live in the Bay Area, and there's a sign on the doors downstairs that have a dog and have a sandwich, because you're not supposed to bring a dog on the Embarcadero train or food on a Embarcadero train. And it's not the worst crime in the world, but they do have those symbologies at the bottom of the stairs. But the bottom line, if you have everything else I say, is don't be arguing with no cop about power. They have the power. Some of us get killed and yanked and brought to jail in the middle of our lunch break and stuff over vying for power with a cop who's not going to give it up.
Over a $3 sandwich.
It could be a $2 sandwich. That ain't the issue. It's just control.
No, it's not. It's not the sandwich, and I understand
I haven't lived there, but I've
Yeah.
been on the train there before, and I've seen folks come with their Starbucks coffee cups because they're on a rush to get to work, and they got a suit on, and they got a briefcase, or they got a purse, and they got red hair or blonde hair or a whole bunch of other colors.
Is that code for white?
Well.
Okay, you can just.
And what I'm saying is,
it's unfiltered. You could say
right.
it.
You know, so there is definitely some differences in the justice.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's definitely some disparities in how this plays
but we
out.
keep dying and stuff in these situations. That's why I was telling people to not try to take power or balance power with these cops. They're not going to give you the power.
It's so frustrating, though. I can understand because, as you're saying, he's just trying to go to work. He's trying to not go to work hungry. And as his companion correctly pointed out, why are you selling food here if you can't eat here? It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
that doesn't make
They don't sell food on the platform, y'all.
But I know they must have sold, but they sell it downstairs, right?
Downstairs.
Now, conceivably, when you go into the train station on the first floor to buy the food, where do you think you're going?
You're supposed to eat the sandwich, excuse me, it's the sandwich.
Oh.
You're supposed to eat it. You're supposed to
partake.
I'm told sandwich.
Partake, not eat.
With Grey Poupon.
With Grey Poupon.
Okay.
Downstairs at the burger place. And I agree with you, brother. I mean, are you kidding? The Bay Area is more racist than, well, I won't do any more comparisons, but the bottom line is very racist.
But let's just quickly say that out of this came folks who stood up and protested, and maybe there will be some slight changes in the regulations,
Probably not.
or at least hopefully the folks who are there will pay more attention and they won't be so aggressive in their policing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand. And in their opinion, that officer's opinion, in his mind, he might have been thinking he was performing a service as a part of his job for a quality of life issue. Because, you you leave crumbs and then the rodents that we've been speaking about on break come out and, then you have issues with urban areas and the rodent population.
Y'all don't have that problem in the Bay Area.
He's trying to work that out. So I'm just saying.
And if you saw the people who were at that protest, I don't know if you can bring up the film again, but most of them was white. And they just having a rebellious moment. They're not rebelling against macro racism in San Francisco. So don't try to. I ain't impressed.
Okay, wow.
They went to a safe area and ate their little Grey Poupon sandwiches. Is that what you're saying?
Austin, Texas.
Since you just started it.
See, hey, I'm sorry.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, it's the holiday season. This is when you think about spending time with family and friends. This is also when you count your blessings and support those less fortunate. This year, be a holiday hero and change someone's life forever. Right now, hundreds of thousands of Americans are sitting in jail without being convicted of a crime. Why? Because they lack the financial resources to pay their bail. Now think about it. If you are arrested for any minor offense, you will be taken directly to jail. If you don't have bail money, you will stay there until a court date is scheduled. That could be days, weeks, or even months. Simply put, America's bail system is broken for people of color. Freedom should be free. That's why the Ebony Foundation has partnered with the Bail Project and is sponsoring the Home by the Holiday campaign. The Bail Project has helped bail out thousands of people over the years, and with your help, they plan to get 1,000 people out of jail by New Year's Day. And that, of course, will be a great holiday gift for many families. A donation from you today can change someone's life tomorrow. Now that you know the people of color represent upwards of 90% of the jail population across the country. Now, without bail, nearly 90% of those charged with misdemeanors pled guilty. Now, however, with paid bail, less than 2% receive the jail sentence. Sometimes justice needs just us. To join the fight, you can donate $25, $50 or more to help the Ebony Foundation bring our brothers and sisters home by the holiday. To donate, go to homebytheholiday.com. That's homebytheholiday.com. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered Fit. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
No charcoal grills are allowed.
I'm white. I got you, bro.
Illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa! Hey! Give us your bag.
You don't live here.
I'm uncomfortable.
So in southern Louisiana, this racist was caught on camera calling a fellow driver the N-word. Lord, this must be a whole N-word show. Here he is.
Just say it.
I said you were talking crazy, you stupid f***ing
Okay.
Did you get it that time?
I did.
I said
Cool. This right here. Wow, y'all. Called me a oh my gosh. This is what we living in today. This is what we are living in today. But it just shows you that we're still living in this time period, y'all. Like, we still going through racism. It's crazy. Old ass man talking to a young black female like that. Sad.
Is this the crazy ass white people segment? Because there have been several situations through this show where the crazy ass white people moniker would have been appropriate, but I think definitely for this segment, this has got to be a good finalist for the crazy ass white people segment.
You know, I hate
what
to name it
the hell was that?
But I gotta, this young lady, she embodied the spirit of Martin Luther King. She found somebody else's cheek to turn because I am not, see, I would have been following to a destination just so I could get a plate and report what I was about to do.
She took that way too calmly for my taste.
And I got to give her some credit because I can't say I would have. And I'm all jokes aside. It would have been a black woman angry moment.
Y'all know what was going on, right? He was going to pick up the police chief.
Oh,
so that's what was going on right there.
Let's all go to get the chief.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Well, see, what I hope don't happen, because she said something about this is happening in this day and age. I was in Virginia some time ago. It was like last year. Minding my own business, driving, and this white man in a red truck who had the Confederate flag on his.
Jesus.
He was driving next to me, and I was paying him no mind. That means I was not paying him any attention.
Oh.
And he was.
Why do you look to this side when you see
because he
start speaking
because
like
he was,
that?
you know,
what
that
you
lane.
Trying to say?
He was in that lane. He was white. He wasn't you.
And
he was in the lane. And he wanted me to pay attention to him, and I have a life. I'm not paying attention to you. So he pulled in front of me, and I couldn't do nothing about that because he was right there. And he said something very, very, very similar. And I hear this kind of stuff all the time. I don't know why people acting like this is where y'all been.
No, I'm not surprised, shoot. But I'm just saying,
she was
I would
saying
not
that
have
this
taken
day
it
and
that
age?
calmly. I know I would not have taken it that calmly.
What y'all would have did? Excuse me, what would he have done? This was your experience.
Let me break it down for you.
Choice words to say back at a minimum, and I definitely would have followed his ass.
So, 2 years ago,
surrounded by the Klan.
in a car, had a situation.
I think I'm being censored, y'all.
Allen Allen's racial discrimination case against Comcast came before the 9 justices. 8 were there. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was ill and was not in the court today. Now, at issue is whether Allen's $20 billion lawsuit should have survived beyond the pleading stage by merely proving that his race was a motivating factor in Comcast's decision to deny carriage to his company's channels. Now, the Ninth Circuit ruled in favor of Allen last year, and some of the justices found fault with the lower court's reasoning. Joining me right now to talk about what happened today is Byron Allen, CEO of Entertainment Studios. Byron, glad to have you here. Your thoughts.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations on your show. Really appreciate you.
Thanks a bunch. So today, your assessment. What are your thoughts about what happened today? What did you hear? Did you think that the questions went well for you? Your thoughts?
I thought it went very well. And our attorneys, especially Dean Chemerinsky, who is the foremost scholar on constitutional law and has written 11 books on the subject, he felt great about it as well. I think it's very clear that it is a motivating factor and not but for. This was put on the books 153 years ago to protect the newly freed slaves, to make sure that
Civil Rights Act,
to make sure there was a pathway for economic inclusion. And it wasn't set, for the impossible standard that you must prove that 100% of the reason that I am not doing business with Roland, 100% is that he's black. And unless you can prove that it's 100%, Roland can't even bring the law forward. So they literally could say, look, it's 99% because you're black and 1% because you're wearing tennis shoes, and you can't use the law. That's the motivating, that's the but-for standard. What the Ninth Circuit said, the motivating factor, which is if any part of the decision is because Roland is black, that you didn't do it, that's enough for Roland to simply use the law and bring it forward. And I think the questions were really terrific from the justices, because they were like, well, hey, Roland doesn't know what he doesn't know. He has to go into discovery to find out what's going on. I mean, like in our case, look at our particular case with Comcast. They say things like, well, we don't do business with Byron because his networks they're lowly rated. They have the low ratings. Well, listen, in discovery, we can show the world that they have over 100 networks on their platform that are white-owned that have a lower rating than ours. Then they'll say things, well, he doesn't have good quality. It's low quality. Well, our networks are Emmy Award nominated and Emmy Award winning. And through discovery, we can show that they carry networks, over 100 networks that are white-owned, that have never been nominated for an Emmy and have never won an Emmy. They will say things like, this has nothing to do with race. Well, they've already proven by going and partnering with Donald Trump's DOJ to get an amicus brief that that there's a great deal of racial, there's institutionalized racism there. I mean, not only did they get Donald Trump's DOJ to write the amicus brief, they did something we haven't seen in ever, which is they got Donald Trump's DOJ to testify, to argue in the courtroom with them in partnership. And it is the very first time the acting Solicitor General has ever gone into the United States Supreme Court to narrow a civil rights statute. So it just shows that Comcast isn't sincere when they talk about, hey, we're in business with Magic Johnson, we're in business with P. Diddy. We never said that they didn't do business with black people. That was never, we put out Harriet. What we said is there isn't any real true economic inclusion. Here's what Comcast won't say, and my mother always says, listen for what they don't say. What they won't say to Roland and the rest of the world, we, Comcast, spend over $11 billion a year licensing cable networks, and African Americans get close to zero of that. In the case of one of those people that they tout as we're in business with, one of them doesn't get 1 penny of that $11 billion. They've said to them, just sell your commercials and live off the commercials.
So let's unpack this. There are 7 networks that target African Americans.
Yes.
You've got BET, and their sister network,
which is owned by Viacom.
And BET Her, owned by Viacom.
Yes.
You've got TV One.
Yes.
And their network Clio TV.
Yes.
Where a publicly traded company, controlling shareholders are Alfred Liggins and Kathy Hughes, his mother.
Who I love.
And you go to their website, they say they are largest black-owned media company in the country. Then you have Aspire TV, which was one of the networks that went to Magic Johnson.
Yes.
And then you have Revolt, and then, of course, you have OWN, Oprah's network.
Yes.
And so how do you respond to that in terms of them having carriage deals with those networks that, again, yes, Viacom owns BET. In the case of TV One, it's a black-owned network.
Yes.
How do you respond to that?
Well, like I said, you have to look at the numbers, and that's what the discovery will tell you. Exactly how much economic inclusion are they getting out of the $11 billion?
And for the people who don't understand the cable industry, the reality is not most, but the way the deal works is there are some people who have carriage,
yes,
but aren't getting subscription fees,
yes,
and they're simply making their money off advertising.
That's right.
There are other folks who do get subscription fees, and so it may run from 2 cents to 7 cents to like ESPN had the highest subscription fees out of everybody. They were getting upwards of $6-7 from every subscriber.
Even higher. So when you pay your cable bill, $8 goes to ESPN.
Those were,
$1
goes 7 to 10 year contracts,
yes,
money locked in.
Yes.
And so
billions and
guaranteed.
billions of dollars throughout the industry.
So when people also, you also have I forgot Africa Channel.
Yes.
Paula Madison, her brother owns that
yes,
network. So again, what people don't understand is that they assume that every company is getting subscription fees. They're not.
That's
some
right.
are, some are not.
That's
it's
right.
based upon the negotiation with the cable company.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what I've said. I said through discovery, we'll show that David Cohen, whose personal compensation is $20 million a year, and Brian Roberts, his annual personal compensation is $35 million a year. You can pick either one of them, and they take out personally more than they pay all of black-owned media combined. They don't get paid sub fees. As a matter of fact, if you Google it, March of 2018, Revolt had to lay off a third of their staff because they're not getting enough support. As a matter of fact, Revolt didn't even get half of the subscribers that Comcast has to offer, and they didn't even give Revolt Philadelphia, as if there are no African Americans there. So here's the problem. Now, it went very well in the Supreme Court. It's a big problem for Comcast. Pretty much the justices told the world, this case needs to go forward. They pretty much said it. Now hopefully we will go forward. We can now get the contracts. We can show the world everything that they're not doing. That's what's key. You have to be able to look at that. You have to have your right to have access to that information. They're not spending money and doing business with us. They put us out there as window dressing, but when it comes to the $11 billion, that's what the question is. Of the $11 billion, how much is African American owned media participating in that amount of capital? And that number is closer to zero than perhaps what it should be, which is 10%, $1.1 billion. So $1.1 billion, now there's more than enough money for Roland to do whatever he needs to do. He's truly there. He has a seat at the table. He's getting real economic inclusion. Why is that important? Well, a lot of the money that Comcast is pulling out of the African American community doesn't come back to us. To be the #1 cable provider in America, you have to hook up all the black cities, all the major black cities. They're literally pulling billions out of our community.
Well, and of course, money is coming from obviously cable systems, from internet, also set-top boxes, all of those different things. You said before that if Supreme Court rules in favor of Comcast, this is going to set black businesses back. How?
Oh, wow. I mean, listen, you won't be able to get an attorney. If somebody says, listen, Martin, let me be really clear. I'm firing you, and 99% of it, Martin, is because you're black. Now, the other 1%, once again, is the tennis shoes. Well, you're going to have a tough time getting a lawyer to represent you on contingency. Now, they can discriminate against you.
Because they put
it at the but-for.
Because, the but-for meaning it has to be. The sole reason. It has to be 100%.
100%, the sole reason. Right? So now they put the standard at a level that's impossible to achieve. So now they're positioned to discriminate against you, and you're not able to use the law to protect yourself and have any recourse. And when they start stripping away your rights, and you're watching that play out this week, whether it was DACA yesterday, and they're going after everybody's rights. The moment they have your rights, then they can, basically they can treat you like a stray dog. So having this right is important. It's a simple statute, and some historians believe that the reason we never got, reciprocity and we never got 40 acres and a mule is we got this law. We got this law that says here's a pathway for economic inclusion, and now they're shutting it down. you know, when I say, listen, if you, Comcast, if you really believe you have a strong case and you really believe that you are phenomenal, then let's just go into the courtroom. You don't have to go to the Supreme Court and jeopardize the civil rights of over 100 million minorities in America. Let's just go and show everybody the paperwork. Let's show everybody that you're spending over $11 billion a year licensing cable networks, and the people you tout as the ones you're in business with don't get any subscriber fees. See, their big problem is we know somebody that was in the room when the MOU was crafted. And they told us.
When you say the MOU,
the Memorandum of Understanding for Black people. And this is
so when Comcast was looking to acquire
NBC Universal,
they were under severe criticism by Congresswoman Maxine Waters
and many others,
and many other groups
that they shouldn't get this big.
And what they then did was they then went to their civil rights groups for their support.
That's right.
Crafted this memorandum of understanding.
That's right.
And then in order for them to be to get their blessings to go before the court system.
That's exactly right. So when you look at that,
so not the court system, for the federal government to approve the acquisition merger. Go ahead.
That's exactly right. So you know when you look at this MOU, you can get into the details of that MOU. You can see that we can get in there and we can say, okay, what exactly was going on here? That this person said, they were in the room, right? They said, look, this MOU was legally and financially engineered so that they could fail. This is what someone
say they.
Magic and P. Diddy could fail. This is what I was told. That's what will come out in this hearing. This person's going to say, and discovered, this person's going to say under testimony, under oath, it was crafted for them to fail. And they purposely picked Magic and P. Diddy because they knew that if they failed, when they failed, that they wouldn't make a stink about it because it would go against their brand, and their brand is success. So Magic and P. Diddy are pretty much victims in this as well. They are pretty much victims in this as well because they weren't given enough to succeed. You know?
Well, in fact, I know for a fact that
at the level they should.
Well, I know for a fact when TV One launched the investment, Jonathan Rogers had $130 million. Jonathan Rogers was the founding CEO.
Yes.
Had $130 million to build the network over 4 years. I know for a fact that when Revolt actually launched, they had $65 million.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues, based on people who I know who worked there, is that Revolt was undercapitalized from the beginning. And
didn't get enough support from Comcast. Did not. How are you not going to give them Philadelphia or high enough sub fees? I mean, Google it. March of 2018, P. Diddy, who I think is phenomenal, and he's a great businessman, he had to, lay off a third of his staff. And it wasn't his fault. He was positioned to fail. And when you get into the details of what they did or did not do, and you can only get there with discovery. You need people to come in and testify. They were in the room. Here's what they saw. Here's what they asked for. Here's what they said. Here's what the contracts say. You're able to show other networks that are getting infinitely more support. If you are so right, then why are you trying to eviscerate this civil rights statute so that we can't even go forth and bring discovery?
I want you to respond to this. So John Hope Bryant, Operation Hope, talks about civil rights.
Yeah.
Talks about black folks not getting the memo. Dropped a video on Facebook last night and said that this is really a economic case for the individual versus a civil rights case. And so I want to play that. I want to get your thoughts to it. Go to my iPad, please.
There are black-owned companies who got the contract, and this one that didn't. It either is I don't like you, and that could be racist, or you didn't meet some objective criteria, which might be demand. In other words, people wanting to subscribe to your business that doesn't meet the minimum bar for our company. And a company like Comcast or whoever you want to pick, AT&T, whoever, whatever company would be, is going to be a different bar than, say, Joe's Cable Company in Lower Mississippi. In other words, if a local cable company or a local company is going to have a different bar, a different criteria than a regional company, a national company, and a global company. And if you want to do business with them, you got to meet the criteria. I get it all the time. People are like, John, I love you, but if you want to be a big baller, only in real estate is $100 million not a big number. They're like, you can't, $100 million is not enough. I got to grow this to $500 million to $1 billion in order to have the impact for my people I want in my own business plan, which is why I'm continuing to grow my platform. This is my for-profit, of course, not my not my nonprofit. They're completely 100% separate business team, but management teams, all that kind of stuff. And so if you want to have impact, you have to have scale, right? And you have to have scale. If you're going to keep stepping up, there's different criteria for different folks and different strokes. So I think this is a commercial dispute. I think that it is wrongly placed to say that this is going to send black folks back 150 years. It's just, I don't think, respectfully not true. Why? Because there's already a Kathy Hughes, there's already a Bob Johnson, there's already a dozen companies that you can cite that have done business with all these companies, including Comcast. So if race was the only issue, then none of them would have done a deal. How are they doing a deal and somebody else isn't? Maybe it's product, maybe it's content, maybe people just don't like them, maybe they don't like the way he does business. I don't know. It's not my bill, but that's just a commercial dispute. Don't drag the entire black culture into this dispute in this way. I think it's a distraction from things that are really, truly important. I respect Mr. Allen. I think he's doing in business.
Your response?
Listen, I would be the first to say, don't bring this civil rights statute into the United States Supreme Court. And I didn't. Comcast did. They decided to challenge that statute and how it was used and how it was applied.
You filed a lawsuit based upon using the statute.
They are the ones who said, we're going to go after the statute, eviscerate it, and dismantle it. And I disagree with him. He doesn't know the entire history. You know, before there was TV1, there was something called the Black Family Channel. But the difference between the Black Family
Before
Channel,
that, they were actually called Major Broadcasting Cable Network.
That's right. But before the Black Family,
work for them.
Right.
Yeah.
But before the Black Family Channel, which was all 100% African American owned, it was for African American entrepreneurs who got crushed by Comcast, and they got pushed out of the way. And they wrote up a lawsuit that they never filed, and I saw. And you know who owned a major chunk of TV1? Who owned a major chunk?
Comcast.
Okay.
And in fact, at Rainbow Push. I forgot the year, but I actually have the video.
Yes.
Kathy Hughes actually complained
in
a keynote speech.
Yes.
Like I say, I got the video and I was at home.
Right.
She complained that it was unfair for TV1 in order for them to launch the network that they had to give a sizable equity stake to Comcast. I also know, and again, for folks who don't realize it, just so y'all understand,
he doesn't realize
it.
And
just for the folks who don't know, I mean,
right, but he's speaking on something he doesn't know. And that's the problem. You have too many black folks who just don't know and don't know enough to say nothing. He doesn't know. So go ahead and school him.
Just for the folks at home, again, who don't understand how these things happen. First of all, you used to have laws that prevented networks from owning distribution outlets. Then it was called. Then you have FinCEN. Those laws were all separated.
Go ahead.
Now you have studios that are able to produce shows, and also sell those shows. And so what happened is, and I can tell you, I was on one of those calls, a Major Broadcasting Cable Network. There were two LLCs that owned NBC. The Willie Garrett LLC with Cecil Fielder, Spencer, and Evander Holyfield. There was a separate Alvin James and Marlon Jackson. That's right. And there was a meeting with DirecTV, and DirecTV wanted an equity stake in NBC in order to carry them on their system.
That's right.
And actually, the reason, just so you also know, the reason Dish to this day does not carry TV1 is because Charlie Ergen believed that he was given an opportunity for an equity stake in TV1, and Alfred Liggins chose to give that equity stake to DirecTV, and Ergen to this day has refused to put TV1 on Dish. I know this for a fact. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of the cable systems have equity stakes in the cable networks.
That's right.
Because they essentially said, in order for you to get carriage, we got to get an equity stake in your company.
And what happened with Comcast and TV1?
So yeah, Comcast did that, and then eventually TV1 did a debt buyout. But
Comcast owned a major piece.
Comcast owned about 40% of TV1.
And
then TV1 bought them out. Took on about $1 billion in debt.
Took on a lot of debt to buy them out.
Right.
Okay. I would be the first to say they never should have owned one piece of that network. It was African American targeted, and it was African American owned. And that company took on crippling debt because of how Comcast was predatory towards them. Now, if you simply look at all the money they pull out of the black community, and what they don't do with us, then that's what I'm saying. Mr. Bryant, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He is ill-informed. And that is a great example because you and I know the real DNA of TV1 that Comcast said, if you want to be on our platform, we have to own 40% of you. And then they had to take on a great deal of debt to buy that 40% back. And now the market cap is under $100 million of this publicly traded company because of the enormous amount of debt. And Cathy Hughes is a phenomenal entrepreneur along with Alfred. They're terrific. But you can only get so far with that kind of debt. And that debt goes back to Comcast being predatory, which is why Mr. Bryant doesn't know. He doesn't even know how much money they're spending on licensing content. He doesn't know how little we get. He doesn't know how much. Tell me what we're paying into their system. Tell me the market cap of Comcast. It's $200 billion. Most of the money they get from cable subscribers are African American. You cannot be the #1 African American provider, the #1 provider of cable without hooking up all the black cities. So, I mean, listen, I know he means well, but there are just a lot of folks who just don't know enough not to speak up because they just don't know.
When you filed the lawsuit, you were highly critical of the NAACP, National Urban League, Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yeah, let's speak on that. So they talk about that. So they say he filed, he sued, these folks. Well, what I was suing is I was saying that the Urban League and these folks, they did an MOU, a memorandum of understanding as to what black people will live by, right? But what they didn't tell black people is that David Cohen of Comcast sits on their board of the Urban League. What they didn't tell black people is that Comcast gives the Urban League $1 million. So what you should tell black people—
$1 million total or $1 million a year?
$1 million a year.
Okay.
What you should tell black people is that there is a conflict of interest. I'm getting money from Comcast, and that is controlling my behavior. Or it may not be, but it may be controlling my behavior. You need to tell black people, I did a deal on your behalf with somebody who pays me. And the reason I sued them is because President Obama fought hard to achieve net neutrality. Who spoke out against net neutrality, Roland? Let them know. Was it a company? Was it the Urban League? Did they speak out against net neutrality? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Tell the people that. Yes. But net neutrality, you need that. Because if you don't have net neutrality, you don't have video coming out of Ferguson. But why did David Cohen of Comcast want them to speak out against net neutrality? Because it challenged his business. It challenged cable. He doesn't want you watching video over the internet. He wants you watching video through his cable networks. And so here is the Urban League speaking out against net neutrality. That's like saying black people don't need food, water, and oxygen. So I sued to say, don't go out here and negotiate on behalf of black people without black people giving you that permission and without you telling black people that you're getting $1 million from David Cohen on your board from Comcast, and you're doing things like speaking out against net neutrality. I'm not going to allow that to happen. So I sued to put them in check to protect black people. That was the reason I did it. So they didn't like it, but guess what? They know I'm watching, and I've also told them, every time you step out, I'm going to sue you. Here's the difference. I have a staff of lawyers who work only for me, litigators. So it's easy for me to sue people. I can bankrupt these guys. I mean, I don't want to hurt them. They're not my target. I could sue them every week. But I want to make it clear, you're going to have to do the right thing, because what you're doing, you're hurting black people. That's what you're doing by taking these donations. And this is what I said to Tom Rutledge. Tom Rutledge, who runs Charter. I said to Tom Rutledge, and I talked about this on the Breakfast Club, and I talked about this at my website, The Griot. I said, Tom, he said, well, you sued me, but I said, Tom, I sued you when I saw you with Al Sharpton in a photo in the newspaper, and you said, I've got an MOU with black people. I've negotiated it with Al Sharpton and the Urban League. And I said, Tom, who is the white man that speaks for all white people? And if that white man doesn't exist, why do you think there is a black man who speaks for me and all black people? Why do you think there's some head black native that speaks for all the black natives? That is a racist idea. And that MOU is a racist, fraudulent document.
So you believe that that civil rights organizations should not be entering into these type of MOUs
Not if they're getting money from the person they're negotiating with. You have to disclose that.
So
they got to say to you, Roland, I'm about to enter into a deal with Comcast. And oh, by the way, Roland, David Cohen sits on my board and I get $1 million a year from him.
So you're saying that had that MOU been signed,
with no money going back and forth to those
with no money going back and forth, you believe that would have been far more representative of the interests of African Americans,
yes,
as opposed to money going to those specific organizations.
That's right. I probably would have been cool with it. I probably would have said, you didn't get any money from them? I'm cool with it. But if you get money from them, well, I'm not cool with it.
Because you
didn't disclose it.
Or do you believe that essentially that money is payoff for you agreeing to the merger?
I sued them because I believe that money is a way to control your behavior. Why are you speaking out against net neutrality? I mean, look, let me tell you who Comcast is, okay? Let me tell you who they are. So once again, Mr. Bryant is totally out to lunch, has no clue as to what he's speaking about. He doesn't even know who they are. Let me tell you who they are. These are the same people who got caught by some very smart engineers in Northern California for deploying BitTorrent, a software to slow video down over the internet. And when they got caught, the FCC said, this is in violation of all kinds of federal laws. Personally, I think people should have gone to jail for that, okay? And Comcast said to the FCC hit them with a $20 million fine. And Comcast said to the FCC, F you don't police the internet and I'm not paying the fine. And I think even sued the FCC not to pay it. That's who they are, okay? That's just one example of who they are. When they went to go get that merger done, to the approval to buy NBC Universal, you go to the FCC. There's the chairman and 5 commissioners. One of the commissioners, Meredith Atwell Baker, voted for the merger, and then 3 months later took a job with Comcast. Okay? That's what you're dealing with. Billionaire Michael Bloomberg had to sue Comcast. Why did he have to sue Comcast? As part of the condition for the merger to buy NBC Universal, okay? They said, hey, Comcast, you own CNBC, a business channel. You need to take Michael Bloomberg's business channel and put it next to CNBC. Mm-hmm. They ignored that consent decree, and Michael Bloomberg had to sue because they took CNBC, put it on channel 50, and then they took Michael Bloomberg's channel and put it on channel 950. He had to go sue them to go get his channel put on, near their channel. This is who they are. These are, look, like I said, David Cohen has compensation about $20 million a year. He has $125 million a year as a budget. $125 million a year as a budget. They're only number 3 after tobacco and defense to pay off civil rights organizations and politicians to keep to do what they want. What are you doing that you're a cable operator? You have to spend that kind of money lobbying. You're a cable operator. So at the end of the day, why go after this civil rights statute and eviscerate it? And no, he's incorrect. If they go and they make this a but-for, then they have a right to discriminate against him, and he will never get a lawyer to defend himself.
What do you say, and I've had folks who reach out to me.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who say, Byron don't give a damn about black folks? All of a sudden, now he's pro-black? What do you respond to those critics? Because they're there.
And be there. And you should be there. But you should also be there with everybody, including your so-called civil rights organization. Take me out of it. You can say whatever you want to say about me. And I can't control what you say about me. This is not about me. This is bigger than me. This is, what are you going to do to protect your civil rights? What are you going to do to protect your civil rights?
So when your critics say, this is Byron trying to enrich himself.
No, but I want to speak to that.
Go ahead.
But I wanted to give the answer that I think is the healthy answer. Don't get into Byron's this, not black enough, black here, wasn't black there, blah, blah, blah. That's all nuttiness, okay? This is not about that. This is about, what are you going to do about your civil rights? Now, let's look at my company, right, and my resources, and look at what I've done. I could have used my resources to do a lot of things. But what did I do? First thing I put on is a Monday through Friday show. I put on 6 judges, 6 of them, daily, for an hour, Judge Ross, Judge Karen, Judge Hatchett, Judge Maybelline, Judge Christina Perez. 5 hours a day, black and brown people, as judges, running things. That's an amazing image, right? What's a better image than sitting there on the court and running things? 5 hours a day. I invest millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to produce, distribute, and promote those images of African Americans. NBC Universal, they've got talk shows where black men are dancing around going, hey, I'm not the baby daddy. Hey, it's not that DNA came back, I'm not the baby daddy. Now, this is what I've said to white executives. I said to a guy, he said, why does it need to be black owned and not black targeted? I said, because, listen, I said, you have your daughter and mine, right? I said, are you okay if I control her image, how she's produced and depicted and seen around the world? Can I control her self-esteem? He said, no. I said, why can you control mine? My daughter's. That's why I have a seat at the table. I have to have a seat at the table. So when you look at nobody on planet Earth, 7 billion people on this planet, has put forth stronger, positive black images than me, 5 hours a day of judges. That's not by accident. That's by design. Because I don't want to just see black men dancing that they're not the baby daddy. But I don't need to answer that and defend that, because it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And it doesn't matter. What matters, it doesn't matter what you think of Byron Allen. The only thing that matters, if you want to have an intelligent conversation, what are you going to do to protect your civil rights? I didn't bring this to the Supreme Court. They did. And they brought it in partnership with Donald Trump. The same Donald Trump who had to sign the largest racial discrimination and housing lawsuit settlement with the United States government, who brought the lawsuit against him. That's who Comcast partnered with, and then walked into a courtroom and said, take some of our time and plead against this civil rights statute, and let's bring black people back to 1865. See, he is ill-advised, and he's not on point, because listen, they get us in the schoolroom, and they get us in the boardroom, and they get us in the courtroom long before he gets choked to death in the street.
So I ask you, so you talked about those 5 hours of programming moving forward.
Yeah.
As you've gone through this, any plans for a black news network, entertainment network? Any plans to expand? You said you own the Grill.
I own the Grill.
Any plans to expand that, to build that out?
We're going to invest heavily in the Grill. We're going to invest heavily in that and build that up.
You owned it for how long?
I've owned the Grill now, I don't even know, a couple of years. I bought it maybe 3-4 years ago. I don't remember. That's what I've been spending more of my time, buying companies. And I've been buying companies. As you know, I bought the Weather Channel last year, and we got them back on Verizon. We won our first Emmy. We've had our highest ratings since 2012. That's been phenomenal. That asset has been a phenomenal acquisition for us. We bought a movie distribution company. We've been buying television stations. We have 15 television stations in 11 markets. We're planning, at this point, we will be the largest owner of Big Four network affiliates in the world. We'll probably have achieved that goal within 36 months. Big Four network affiliates, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. We're in real estate. We're going to go into banking. We're not going to just be held to media, so we will be, media, real estate, banking, because at the end of the day, this is an opportunity to really achieve that fourth and final chapter that Coretta told us, that this is the reason Martin was killed. Martin Luther King was killed because he was pushing for economic inclusion. And, it's so ironic when he sits there and says, this is commercial. Blah, blah, blah. It's like one of the things that's going on here, and this was one of the issues that I had with President Obama, and I said to President Obama, I've given you money, and my money has strings attached. You spent $700 billion to bail out the banks. I want you to audit the banks and see if they're lending money to African-American entrepreneurs like Mr. Bryant. And he wouldn't do that. And I said, the other issue I have with you, Mr. President, because I knew that African Americans were not getting bank loans for business loans and home loans. I said, the United States government has a pension fund that's over $1 trillion, over a T, and not one African American manages 1 penny of that money. And the reason why I sued to make sure that we opened this pathway is so guys like him don't struggle and they get access to capital and they can actually not talk about having scale, but actually have scale.
What happens if you...
I have scale. I know how to get scale.
What happens?
And I know that there are a lot of wonderful African-American entrepreneurs out there that are going to get flushed down the toilet because they're positioned to fail and they're never going to achieve scale. They'll dream about it. They will talk about it. But the way the game is rigged and the way the game is positioned, they're positioned to fail. I have achieved scale. And I'm sitting here saying, hey, black community, this is how you do it. The door is closed, and I'm going to tell you how you bob and weave around that. Because, by the way, if I wanted to, I could say nothing. And I could keep my mouth shut. And if, like my mother always says, listen to what they don't say. Listen to who's got a lot of money and they're not saying a word. Those are the ones you need to ask what's going on.
What happens if the court doesn't rule in your favor? What do you do?
I think they're going to rule. Well, first of all, let me be really clear. They pretty much, this is what I've always said day one. Day one, I've always said this. Our case is going forward. And they pretty much said that today on the bench. Hey, this case needs to go forward. I've always said my case is going forward. I've been out here doing all these talk shows.
So, hold on, people who are watching. So, the Supreme Court rules in your favor.
Yes.
Does not mean that you win the case.
Yes, that's right. They're ruling in the favor that I can go forward with my case against Comcast and start to get discovery and start to show that they're not doing business with African Americans in a fair and equitable way. That P. Diddy should have Philadelphia. P. Diddy should have 20 million subs, not less than 10 million subs. His sub fees should be doubled. There are other people who don't even get sub fees, that they should be positioned to succeed, not fail. So my lawsuit is going forward. And I've always said I have brought forth enough evidence for it to go forward. My lawyers are the best in the business. They always put forth my case at the but-for standard, the higher standard. So whether they choose motivating factor or but-for, I'm going forward. It was Comcast who chose to challenge the Civil Rights Statute of 1866. So I started doing every radio show and talk show to speak to Black America and say, our civil rights are under siege. My case was always going forward. What I want to do is protect the Civil Rights Act of 1866 because I want to make sure the door isn't shut to you and that brother sitting there who doesn't quite know what he's talking about.
Last question.
No, keep asking me questions. I like hanging out with you.
No, I got you. But,
okay, but you got to. It's the internet. We can hang here all night.
My crew got to go home.
Well, come on, they're not complaining.
They got to go home.
I flew all the way from LA.
Here's the deal.
I flew all the way from LA to hang out with you, and you got like, okay, last question. What you got?
I would be more than happy to take your check to pay them. I'm just saying. I'll be more because I ain't got Byron Allen money.
I am right here. I'm ready to hang out with you. I'm having a good time, Ro. I'm a big fan of yours.
I appreciate it.
I want you to bring it. I want you to bring the hard questions, because if you bring the hard questions, then I want everybody in America to innately understand what's going on. Dr. King told us, 2 Americas cannot survive. That's what got him killed, that speech, the other America. There are 2 Americas. What does it matter if I can sit at the same lunch counter as my white counterpart and I cannot afford the same hamburger? And what's really important, he said that over 50 years ago, and it's as if he wrote it yesterday. And what has to happen now, because we have half the women in this country living at or below the poverty line. At or below, half, okay? You have over 2.5 million kids in this country that are homeless, okay? We only have 330 million people in this country. Only have 330 million people in this country out of a global population of 7 billion people. And as the global population goes from 7 billion to 10 billion, the bottom 5 billion are going to get wiped out because we don't have enough food, water, and resources to support the bottom 5 billion. They will perish. You have global warming, climate change. Mother Nature is going to just obliviate the bottom 5 billion. Now, here is the problem. China China has the equivalent of 2/3 of our country in college. 200 million kids in college. And everybody knows the capital will eventually follow the intellectual capital. They're developing intellectual capital at a much faster rate. So what are we saying there? We're saying exactly what Martin Luther King taught us over 50 years ago. And this is what we have to come to grips with. White America is no longer enough to compete globally. And white America has 99% of the wealth in America. So white America has the most to lose as we sink globally. And every day we're sinking, and white America is losing the most. Now, for white America to survive, white America now has to make sure every American is fully engaged, and every American has access to a real education, and every American has access to capital, and every American is bringing their A game. So we are competing globally to maintain our position and our wealth.
I'm not sure they want to do that.
But hold on. It's a matter of survival for white America. So this isn't a black problem. This isn't a white problem. This is an American problem. And as Martin Luther King taught us, we have to have one America. And we're now at that point where we must achieve that in order for this country to maintain the status that we currently have. We have to achieve one America, and every American has to be fully engaged and fully positioned to succeed and to keep our position in this global economy.
Have the other black owners of networks communicated with you and said, we stand with you? You said that's the hard question.
That's the hard question. No, it's not the hard question. Let me just say yes. Let me say yes. They know who they are. They know what they're not getting. They know. Everybody. Look, this is why this is a historic case. We're not going to have this conversation again. This is our reciprocity. This is why we didn't get 40 acres and a mule. The greatest trade deficit in America is the trade deficit between America and black America. America's not doing business with black America anywhere. Now you have this law to level the playing field and get them to the table. And now that you can get them to the table and say, guys, we got to correct this because this is economic genocide. You're not doing business with us the way we do business with you, and people in our neighborhoods are dying. You're making sure we have plenty of gangs and drugs and alcohol, and, we don't have enough books for our kids. So now we're going to start to deal with the fourth and final chapter. That's what this is. Yes, it started as a commercial dispute, but Comcast, escalated it to a civil rights dispute because I never would have challenged. And I told them, I said, don't do this. Now, here's the thing. I don't believe we should boycott Comcast, and I don't believe we should dismantle Comcast. But they have upset civil rights organizations, and they have upset every civil rights organization without exception. And those civil rights organizations and politicians are completely dedicated to breaking them up and going after their top advertisers and boycotting their top advertisers if they advertise with any of the Comcast networks. I know that from all of them. They have lit these civil rights organizations up like a Christmas tree. That was not the intent. I have tried to get them to the table. I have said, guys, let's get to the table. Let's work this out like a commercial dispute. Let's work this out. Charter said to my government relations person, we're not going to talk to Byron because we don't negotiate with terrorists. Okay? My government relations person said, David is white, and David said, look, I represent Charlie Ergen. Charlie Ergen is white, and he runs Dish. And Charlie is far more aggressive than Byron.
Yeah, Charlie Ergen is one of the most aggressive people in the cable business. And I love
Charlie. He's a good guy for me. With me, I do a lot of business with Charlie, okay? And Charlie is a good guy, and he's tough. And he said, I've seen Charlie be much tougher with you than Byron, and you've never called him a terrorist. See, that's what happens. If a white man walks in and he's tough and he negotiates and hold his ground and takes what he believes belongs to him, that's business. That's just a shrewd guy. If you do it, Roland, you are a terrorist. That's a racist statement right there. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Like, are you kidding me? But that's fine. We're going to push through that. We're going to when I sued Charter, Charter had a board of directors of 11 white guys. 11 white guys. And I said to them, dude, really? 11 white guys got together every 90 days and said, this feels right to me? These guys, these knuckleheads didn't even have somebody that represented 90%, 60% of the global population, a woman, let alone get to first base, somebody African American or Asian or gay or Hispanic or whatever. Like, they didn't even have a chief diversity officer when I sued them. Truth of the matter is, I'm making these companies better. And I'm not talking about it. I'm using legal action to force them to do it. And when after they do it, then they're better. They're better.
When you look at, when I look at jobs, look at opportunities.
Yes.
Are you looking at Hollywood, looking at this entertainment industry, looking at the media industry and saying, I'm going to make sure that I am using my platform to elevate black talent? And is it intentional in terms of operational roles, P&L responsibility?
I already have. I already have. That's like I just said, 7 billion people on the planet. Who puts on 5 hours a day of some of the most positive African-American images out there? 5 hours a day of judges.
And when I'm talking about...
And behind the scenes as well. That's the easy part.
I'm going to production companies. I'm going to, again, because, like, look, we at NABJ with a meeting today with AT&T. One of the things I talked about there was I said, look, creating opportunities for black media entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Not just black folks who are in front of the camera. I said, but, because at the end of the day, who controls the narrative? That's it.
Roland, I'm easy, but I'm not enough. That's what the lawsuits are about. You need everybody. And before I forget, I want to thank Senator Kamala Harris, who generated the government amicus brief, and she got Senator Booker to sign it, Senator Blumenthal to sign it, Senator Wyden, and 8 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I'm highly confident pretty much everybody in the Congressional Black Caucus is going to lean in now. I want to thank Congressman Bobby Rush, who was amazing. That letter that he wrote, and he made it very clear this is unacceptable, and he's calling for the breakup of Comcast. Once again, you know, I'm not asking for that, but he is steadfast on that. Also, Dr. Bernice King, she's amazing. This is one of the first times we've heard Martin Luther King's daughter speak out. Her letter was heart-wrenching when she wrote an open letter to Brian Roberts and said, what are you doing? This is what my father died over this, and my mother dedicated her life to this. So, I mean, this is unnecessary. And I also want to thank Derek Johnson, the president of the NAACP, because I sued the NAACP because they signed that MOU. But that MOU was under the NAACP, that was Ben Jealous. And Ben Jealous apologized to me for signing that MOU and said, I'm sorry, brother, I thought I was doing the right thing. I said, I forgive you. I'm not upset with you. I love Ben Jealous. He just didn't know what he didn't know. Okay? We just have a number of folks out here, you just don't know what you don't know, right? But Derek Johnson at the NAACP, he has really gone out there and he's pushing hard. And I have a lot of faith in Derek Johnson. And I love that brother, and I'm supporting him, and he's a fellow Detroiter. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we can pretend like it's this or we can pretend it's like it's that. But at the end of the day, I don't want over 100 million minorities in this country to wake up and go, what happened with my civil rights? What happened? Well, they went to the Supreme Court and nobody told you and they just rolled you back. So, you know, this is important.
Well, it is something that I definitely explain to people that I use all the time, that if you go to Washington, D.C., there's only one federal agency that shares a line with the White House. That's the Department of Treasury. If you want to understand America, power and money, money and power. And what often happens is that when we have these discussions about what African Americans need, typically what happens, and I was in Indianapolis a few weeks ago with the State of Black America, and we focus on economics, we often talk about civil rights, mass incarceration, police brutality, and money and economic power is not in that top 5.
That's what you need.
And so, because I mean, at the end of the day, without money, you can't even control your own politics.
That's it. You need an education and you need money. And that's why I got upset with Obama. And I said, look, if you audit the banks to see if they're lending money to black people, African Americans, you will see we're not getting it, because at the end of the day, that's why under President Obama, unemployment went down for white America but went up for black America. And home ownership under Obama hit a 25-year low. That screams we're not getting access to capital. African Americans, we're brilliant, we're resourceful. It's real simple. We're being asked to run the same race as our white counterpart without any tennis shoes. All we're saying is, can we get a pair of tennis shoes so we can run this race? And if we get a pair of tennis shoes, we're going to do just fine on that track. And we need access to capital. That's what this is about. And this civil rights statute is going to, upholding this civil rights statute. And by the way, there isn't a coincidence that now that we're starting to use the civil rights statute, they have to reevaluate it and see if it's ambiguous, because it's been used to the tune, I've used it in 3 lawsuits and $40 billion. So now we're going to use this statute so we can make sure that we have economic inclusion for all Americans, especially African Americans, the furthest left behind, and we achieve the 4th and final chapter, which is one America. One America. That's what we're going to do here.
All right. We do have to go.
All right.
Byron Allen.
Are you going to hang with me? Because I don't know anybody here in D.C.
Well, we can hang.
You going to hang with me? Come on, Roland.
But they got to go home.
Okay, everybody got to go home.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, as the marijuana momentum continues, our good friends at marijuanastock.org have already reached more than half of their funding goal for the hemp CBD investment. That's right. If you want to take advantage of this great opportunity, you need to do it now, because it won't last much longer. Now, if you don't know, I'm talking about the hemp plant, the good cousin to marijuana with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Also, if you don't know, hemp farming is now legal in the United States, creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. It's just, again, an opportunity, investment opportunity. And the folks at 420 Real Estate, their business model is very simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. As hemp continues to change the economic landscape, 420 Real Estate is allowing you to chase the American dream. Now, look, the best part is right now you can invest in this crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200. That's right, you can invest as little as $200 up to $10,000. Do it now before the fund is closed. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin.